Hey everybody, do you like a good dungeon crawl? How about a board game? Well, I have the creator of a dungeon crawling board game called Shuffle Dungeon that is kickstarting right now. Tons of cooperation and replayability. Stick around to meet Jeremy. That interview starts now.
Awesome.
Hey Jeremy, how are you?
Doing great. How you doing, Mike?
I am doing maybe not as good as you. You have an amazing board game that you are kickstarting right now, which is absolutely going bonkers. And it is called Shuffle Dungeons.
Yes.
And why don't you tell me all about that? Because it's I backed it before I actually reached out to you to talk about it because I thought it was such a great concept. But why don't you tell me more about it?
So, Shuffle Dungeons is a cooperative board game for 1 to 4 players. Basically, it follows a lot of your standard, dungeon crawling tropes. You're placed in a dungeon. You got to find powerful equipment. You got to slay monsters. All the good stuff you know and love from most, dungeon crawlers. But we have a few twists in it. First one is it's co-op. I guess it's not really a twist, but it's a difference of what you're looking for.
Definitely.
Yeah. But each of the cards is actually double-sided. So on one side of each card, you have like your equipment. So you got your weapons, your armor, all the stuff that makes you more powerful. And on the other side, you have a room that you can place into the dungeon. And different rooms have different abilities, do different things. But essentially, you have to make the choice of, do I make myself stronger for the final boss fight? Or do I place this room in the dungeon to help me get to the boss? You gotta have to make that kind of decision every time you play a card. And so every single time you play the game, it's going to be a brand new dungeon because you're going to have brand new cards to pick from. Your character is going to be different because you have all this different equipment to pick from. So it's very, not necessarily procedurally generated, but that kind of style where it's a random dungeon every single time you play.
I did not realize that the equipment was on the other side of the card, so you can choose to either take the equipment for yourself or play something and move you further into the dungeon. That's actually rather interesting.
Yeah, it's unique. It definitely took a couple tweaks playtesting to get a system that we felt worked, because it's definitely different than how it normally is. But it brings the sense of urgency because essentially if the deck runs out, you lose. Right? So as you're exploring and building, or even drawing like weapons and armor, you're constantly draining that resource of time, essentially. And if you drain it all out, you lose.
Wow.
So it's a unique balance between, your character and the board, essentially.
Wow. Nice. So what inspired you to create this game?
I always kind of point my inspiration back to Betrayal. Very different games, but I just always loved the exploration. I always loved the exploration. You're going through the house, you're picking up tiles, and you're getting a brand new layout every single time. That was the one part, but also just I like to say there's a twinge of Munchkin in there. Maybe not necessarily from like a gameplay perspective, but more a thematic perspective. You'll read some of the cards. We got some like goofy jokes hidden throughout the game and stuff. Those are like the two things that kind of inspired the initial creation. And then as we were creating it, there were like a couple of design ideals that we kept in mind. One is we wanted it to be not too heavy, not too light, somewhere in the middle. We wanted it to be approachable for people who were relatively new to board games, but not super simple that, veterans wouldn't be interested.
Right.
And the other thing is we wanted to keep it to about an hour playtime, which that was a challenge in and of itself. And sometimes you still go a little over, but we all have those big box games that you're going to be playing for 2 to 3 hours, and it's sometimes hard to get people to play that. So trying to keep a nice, simpler game and a nice, short, compact playtime, and a nice compact box also, so it doesn't take up a lot of shelf space.
I did. The box is really small, actually. I was surprised. I figured there'd be, but I mean, I've looked at the pieces, and we'll be showing throughout the interview various photos of the game, but it is very compact. So, I mean, I kind of like that because those bigger games, even for some of us seasoned players, are a little intimidating because the setup takes forever.
Yeah, it's like, I actually just played Scythe for the first time, and that's an example of a great big box. And it's like, I played it because I was on a trip, and it's like, when am I ever going to get the people and the time commitment to ever play that again? Who knows? But I'd love to. It was a great game.
Yeah, I actually just ordered Scythe, so I have a relationship with Stonemaier Games, and so we do reviews and stuff for their games. But I just ordered Scythe on my own with a couple other games. I love their games, and Scythe is a big one. I have not tackled it as of yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's great, but yeah, it's definitely time consuming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you mentioned you've played other board games. What would you consider to be one of your favorites?
I'm always a fan of Gloomhaven. That'll probably be my go-to, and I know that's a very cliche if you want, but that was my first jump into legacy board games, and just everything about it is phenomenal, and I love it. The thing that ruined it for me though was when they made the digital version where you don't have to manage all the pieces and whatnot, and now it's so hard for me to go back and actually play it. Yeah, I'm so used to the computer doing everything for me.
That's the Stonemaier is actually has a lot of their games available digitally as well. And I was like, man, if I get that digital game, then we'll never actually play the box game.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So I eschew digital games if I can. Not to say there's anything bad about digital games, but I like that tactile feel of it, and being able to dig through the box and pop out the pieces and everything. So,
for sure, yeah. It's definitely the audience. I have a bunch of buddies from college that I don't get to see very often, so doing those digitally is really nice. But yeah, you can't completely get rid of the physical and tactile feel, like you mentioned. Like they're just two different experiences.
Right. Well, speaking of tactile feel, with the heights that the game has reached, there are some perks that have been put in, some stretch goals to increase the look and feel of the game. A thicker box, different card stock for various things. What's going on with that?
One thing that we wanted to do was, and what we've done is, the content that's in the game is the content that we wanted in the game. We did have a couple of stretch goals for additional bosses, but more or less the cards are the cards. And so we decided to kind of increase the quality of the components as much as possible through our stretch goals. So like you mentioned, a thicker box. We've gone through and we've added satin. Why can I not think of the term?
It is cloth or something.
Oh, shoot. I'm completely
forgot the
blanking.
name of the...
Like the card with the... Oh, this is going to kill me if I can't remember this.
Hold on. I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll pull up my Kickstarter and see.
A few minutes later.
Linen. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. All right. I can't believe it. I just completely drew a blank. But yeah, we added all the cards to have a linen texture. We've updated all of our cardboard tokens to also have a linen texture. The other thing we did with our hero tokens, we added additional stands for them. We got some feedback that some other games that use like your hero tokens with these little plastic stands, if you have to keep taking them on and off all the time, it starts to damage the cardboard. So we made sure to add enough for every hero. You stick them on once, they're done, to hopefully preserve the longevity of those pieces. Other things we've done, like I mentioned, added a couple bosses, added a couple pieces of artwork for those bosses. I think that's mostly it. Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a fantastic game. I know I'm eagerly awaiting my copy when I get it.
Thank you.
And I will definitely have a review on the channel of it so everyone can take a look. But I think everything is fantastic. I love everything you've done, hence the reason why I reached out. And I will have links down below to the Kickstarter, which is running until early September.
Yeah, I think it's September. It ends midnight, September 5th, Pacific time.
Okay. So hopefully this video will be out well before that, and you can pick up your copy. You'll be accepting late pledges as well?
Yes. I hadn't heard of it until we started our Kickstarters, but yes, I did set up late pledges.
That's a great idea, because I know I've late pledged a lot of different things. But
sure.
Jeremy, I appreciate you coming on, and I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to see what more stretch goals you're going to hit before you end.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate taking the time to reach out and check out our Kickstarter.
Absolutely.